Well, good evening, folks. My name is Roleplaying Space. Welcome to the stream. We are going to be doing our fourth episode of what I've called Tech Talk. And with me is my esteemed guest. His name is...
Howdy, folks. I'm Matt. I play Kabar.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Been watching you for a long time on these things. Always enjoy them.
I appreciate that. I also appreciate you coming on the show and coming on for the unscripted, raw interviews that we have for our 20-year-old text-based role-playing game. So we'll dig into this. First, are you one of the OG characters, or are you someone who's been playing from like the big network or before that? Are you new? Some folks that I've talked to are, they found the game in 2010, maybe brand new the next couple of years, 2015, 16. When did you start playing?
Oh, man. Just an absolute ridiculous long time ago. Official start date, I don't even remember. It's like 97, 98, way back in the day when you didn't have skill points. You had little asterisks by your skills and all that other good stuff, so it's been a while.
Wow. That is a long time. Just got hit with a little nostalgia. Holy crap.
I took like a, 8, 9, 10-year gap in the middle, but I'm back now.
I think it's safe to say in tech, a lot of us have gap years. Some of them are bigger than others, but so the character that you're playing now, is it one that you've had since back then, or is it just your favorite main? Is it your main now?
It is definitely my main now. I cannot really play alts very long. I just can't get behind them. I don't know. It's not my jam.
Okay.
This character is pretty daggone old. He wasn't really well known in the past because he was kind of sketchy and shady and stuff. But since I came back, he's done the straight and narrow, and he's more of a public figure now than he used to be.
Always love to hear about people and their characters, how they've transitioned. We can't all play the same character without any sort of growth for years on end. So it's cool to hear that maybe you've got a little sketchy past, maybe you did some sort of who knows what, but now things have kind of changed due to both the game and story and, whatever else.
Oh, yeah. And, me too. I mean, when I first played it way back in the day, I was like 12 or 13 years old. And, I was a little kid.
Yep. Yeah,
and
like that's a lot of us.
So I'm better now.
I think a lot of us have matured from where we started years ago with this game. As part of our pre-talk, we had talked about a bunch of different topics. We started to just touch on one. When I asked for people to come on the show, you would originally come as one of the Powergamers or one of these theory crafters. But you also mentioned that there seems to be sort of this stereotype that you can't be a role player and a power gamer. So I'd like to get kind of your thoughts on that. Do you think that they are, exclusive? Like if you're a solo skill point grinder, can you also be a role player, or are they just not conducive to each other? What do you think?
I mean, obviously everybody's different, but it just seems that the stereotype has existed that there are those people that, play solo tech and they just go off into the corner of the world and they just ignore everybody else. They kill stuff, they self-train, they, occasionally will show up to an event where some fighting is, where they think they might get some good loot or something, and they say hi, nod, whatever, get their kicks, and then disappear back into the woods, and you don't see them again for like 3 or 4 months. But there are so many people that, they spend 10, 12 hours a day on this game while they're fighting and training and stuff, but dude, they like go into town when they're resting, they hang out, they have, leadership roles or just big personalities within the game, all kinds of friends. So, I mean, I don't really think that stereotype is really accurate, and maybe that's just my thoughts from way back in the day, but it really seems to like have blended. So, because way back in the day where the skill point grind was a lot harder.
Yep.
Than it is now. I mean, now you can get your 200, 250, 300, whatever in, a matter of a few hours. And then you can hang out with everybody and role play and do whatever you want. And men gaining, even for the most diehard, does get old. And you have to go into town and interact with people where it's just, you might as well just be your head against the wall because it sucks.
It's funny you say it like that. I used to be, my first character, I just grinded skill points, and then role played a small bit of my time in tech. And even when I came back on some 2, I used to do it like I wanted to be the best. So I had to be the best at one-handed clubs, and then I was picking up spears. And I've found that now, if I, pick up my skill points, your 250, 300, like you said, but then you make time to go role play with people, it's more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's more rewarding than, being the guy that, can destroy anybody at any time, that one event, once every few, when you could spend several hours a week having fun instead of just, a couple hours once every couple of months.
Yeah, I'm a big, got some big thumbs up to the staff for the skill point changes. I like the way that it works. I like that it feels easier to pick them up, and for those who are interested in, say they work a job, I've heard somebody who's like, man, I work at a desk. So it's easy for me to, while I'm doing other stuff, just be pounding on, gladiators or pounding on whatever, rats, it doesn't matter what it is. If they're able to do that and they enjoy that, cool. But I like that for some people who like to play a little bit more casually, you're able to pick up skill points easily and also role play and have fun.
Yeah. I absolutely love that they changed the rank bonus from basic, from like way back in the day when you just self-trained your basic to obscene levels and you were just amazing. Whereas now, after you get to like rank 100 and everything, the difference between rank 100 and 700 is, well, significantly smaller than it used to be. So even if you are that guy that can only do like the 250, 300 a week, if you stick with your character, for a year and you have good stats, man, you can compete with even like the most diehard men gaining people.
Since you're on for that sort of topic, tell me a little bit, because I missed a chunk in the middle. I remember the stars. I remember when we got skill points. And I remember back when it used to be, oh God, was it before it was Chop Dummy? It was something else, maybe Stab or Slash. I can't remember. I was one of those people who
been all kinds of things. Like I used to way back when my main character used to use a trident, I would figure out that the dummy's in like one corner of the room, so you could drop a lantern in the room. It's like a 10-foot square room, and then you could approach your lantern and be just far enough away from the dummy that you could actually throw your trident at it. And then you could just stand in a corner forever and just throw your daggone trident at a dummy forever. Finding little fun things like that. But I mean, yeah, back in the day, the skill point grind used to just be absolutely painful. I remember me and my buddies, we were proud of the fact that we were able to log in and play for like 36 hours straight without stopping. I mean, that was like something we were proud of.
Yep.
And like now I'm just like, holy crap, I can't believe that. Are you kidding me? But then I remember there was one power leveling constable gamer at the time that the rumor going around was that he worked night shift at a hotel at the desk, so he could, like you were saying, play like tech grinding all night long, and I was so jealous. I wanted to have that job.
How funny is that? Because I was sharing a say like in college, I had a job where I worked overnights, and I was able to raid in World of Warcraft, and everyone's like, "Dude, that's so awesome!" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I probably wasn't doing a great job at my job, but it was kind of cool to go to school, then go to work, and then be getting paid to raid." And everyone was like, "Man, that's so cool!" And then as you get a little older, you're like, "Man, there's other crap I could have been." Yeah, it's still kind of cool, I guess, but how your perspective changes as you get a little bit older, a little bit more wiser.
Yeah, I mean, even like a couple years ago when my job was a lot less involving. I mean, I would log in to tech using, I don't know if you ever got to see it. There was an Android app that you could actually log into tech. I can't remember what it was called, but
I'd heard about it.
Yeah, but yeah, I would like log into tech, and I would have my phone sitting there right at my workstation. I'd be like kind of half doing my work and half playing tech, not doing really good at either of them, but I was having fun.
Grinding those role points, folks.
Oh yeah.
What are the other things that we had chatted about that I want to get some of your opinion and perspective on is common knowledge for tech. And the question was, what is really common knowledge? And what I find interesting about two things. There are certain things that you would think are common knowledge. And whether it may be the quickest way to train, but then you find out another one or a new way. And this is, I hope, leads us into the way that you test things. But my question for you is, what are some things that you somebody like me might not know that you would consider common knowledge? Whether it's somebody coming back or a new player.
Okay. Well, I guess the training, I guess, is more my focus thing. So I'll just kind of stick with what I'm decent at. So some returning player, from way back in the day might not realize that, hey, just leveling up your basic skill to rank 1000 and leaving all your subs at rank 10 is no longer the way to do things. Because the rank bonus from levels in your basic don't really affect your sub skills very much after like 100 anymore. So it's generally a better idea to level everything, at least everything that's important, evenly. Like keep your defenses even, especially if you're planning on being like a gladiator or something like that, and you fight somebody that is pretty good, not necessarily in ranks, but knows the system. They might start probing your defense and realize, oh, you're rank 100 in a cross block, but you're only like rank 10 in the low block, so I'm just going to aim everything I have at low, and he's not going to be able to do crap about it.
Yep.
So it's, a good idea, because there's not like one thing catch all anymore like there used to be. You definitely have to be more rounded than before. Before you could be like, I'm just going to train basic and SWAT, and I'll rule the world. But that doesn't work anymore.
Question on that. One of the things that I had kind of learned when I first came back was your quote-unquote homework ranks. And I read that from, I think it was Elowin's post in the forums. So this is more for anybody who's watching this who may be new. Could you explain what some of those are? Because for me, I always knew about recovery, but all of these others, like I didn't know about the new ones for bows and stuff like that. If there was somebody new who was like, hey man, you're this old, theorycrafted bro, what are those ranks that I might want to get that I don't consider? I got my 20 or 30 in my attacks and my basics, and I got my shield blocks up, and what are those other ones that you should consider?
All right. So like as you've mentioned before, we generally call them homework ranks, homework skills or whatever. They're the kind of non-glamorous skills that you're not going to critical hit chop somebody's head off with or something like that. But the basic recovery keeps you from dropping your weapon so often, and whenever you do actually perform the recovery, you get like a little bonus to your next attack. The bonus goes up with your rank, and that is affected by your dexterity. So if you like have a new character and you've got like ridiculous dexterity or something huge, you're probably gonna not desperately need it. You're not gonna find yourself fumbling all that much. Other stuff like fallback, people don't realize they need it until it's too late, and then they're in a coma. It's kind of important. And also, pro tip, it's really hard to fall back in the darkness, so plan accordingly. Then there's the rising. Like if you're like an up close and personal person, you might want to pick the standard rise. But if you're like a stave long range person, you might want the backwards rolling rise, so that you can go and fight bandits and not worry about getting impaled to death. I remember when I was playing Kabar, like when he was fairly new, I guess he was only rank 100 in Rise, and he had already maxed his agility at that point. And I was fighting some bandits, captured a GM NPC hooded cloak. They died randomly, as they do, and then we got ambushed by like 400 bandits and failed my Rise with rank 100 roll.
Ooh.
And I was in a coma before I was even unconscious. It was pretty epic. So immediately trained up to 120 afterwards.
That's brutal. Wow.
Then there's the other stuff that definitely doesn't get the glamour, the arrow dodging, arrow blocking, and the feint awareness stuff. I mean, dude, feint people. I mean, how many people actually have to deal with getting feinted? It's just not all that often, unless you go do some player versus player and you're turtling, or you go fight on the docks or something. And usually at that point, it doesn't even matter how much feint resistance you have, because they ridiculous up there. But yeah, the arrow and all that defense, it especially nowadays with the uptick in bandit archers going around, the NPCs and PCs running around, it's fairly important. Keeps you from getting bandited.
Yeah. Or people are like, oh, I heard he didn't quite get his Rise maxed out. Let's go visit him when he walks down the road. Was the case for me a little bit ago, but that's another story for another time. Before we talk about the testing of mechanics, I'd love to kind of switch back the other way. We had talked briefly about emoting in tech, and kind of how to find your own character. And for me, I've always done things like, and I'd shared this in the tech Discord the other day, I like to try and find like one quirk and like one flaw and maybe like a secret that I don't tell anybody. And I try to role play those out well. And my example for Sumtu was that, like he was a drunken sailor, so he got into a crap ton of trouble back in the day, and his big secret was that he was afraid of love. How do you find that line for your character of how you emote? Do you have quirks? Do you have flaws? Do you just kind of let it come to you? Do you use a lot of pre-based ones, or do you like to freehand them? I'd love to hear how you roleplay and emote Kabar.
Well, as we've discussed before, I'm definitely fairly weak on the actual emoting and stuff. It's just something I haven't really done over the years. I've been gradually working on it, progressing on it, getting better, but the more complicated ones, using like, you start a sentence and your name appears in the middle, using the @ symbol and all other stuff, and, to actually targeting other characters with the little direction marks and all that. I haven't really gotten comfortable with doing all that stuff yet, but that's future work. It's not really emoting, but it's more like a speech pattern.
Yeah.
With Kabar, like I always use, a lot, for really, really often I use the triple dots to like break up in the middle of his sentences and stuff. it can be kind of annoying sometimes. But yeah, that's just how he talks. It's not with like a heavy, crazy accent or anything. It's more like a giving more gravity to this is a pause. It's a dramatic pause.
Right.
What was that bringing in here? But yeah, so that's more like him. As far as like secrets and kind of getting into the mood to play him or whatever. What I like to do is with every character that I've ever had, just have a notebook document on my computer labeled, their name, and then I'll have like their stats and important stuff, and I'll have their like description and basically any important event or anything that I think might be relative or something. I'll just copy it and paste it on the document. Like a long time ago when Parlin used to talk and had his tongue and everything. Him and Kabar used to talk out at courses, and at one point during the conversation, he told him about his parents up in Astrea, and I'm just like, oh, cool, copy paste. Yep. And then like every now and then I would bring it up in conversation. He'd be like, how the crap do you remember that? I'm just like, I remember everything, but it's because I've got a cheat sheet right next to me.
Yeah, that makes me so happy, dude, because
I love it.
I have to do the same thing, especially with like my alts, and I'm the kind of person who will be like, okay, so I got my main, I've got Evan, I know he's talked to or whatever, it's nice to look at the document, but sometimes I'll hop on an alt and I'll have to type like SS and be like, oh crap, who is this? Okay, all right. And then I open up my text document, I'm like, wait, who's he talked to? Okay, all right. I think that's one of those fun things about playing tech is having a little document. It's something you even do if you play in a D&D campaign, or any sort of like, these are the things that I've experienced. This is what happened. This is the person he said to go here. It can be helpful because I know our memories are faulty. We might be like, wait, who did I talk to about that? Oh, look right here. This is I talked to Parlin about his parents. Makes me happy to hear I'm not the only person who has text documents with like interactions that have happened.
They're giving me crap about how I pronounce his name.
Who is?
I guess they want to say it. It's Kabar, I guess. Whatever.
Kabar.
Oh, cabby.
You can say it how you wanna say it.
You're darn right. And that's actually another weird thing with me. Ever since I was like 12 or 13, every character in every video game that I've ever played on all platforms has to have that hard K in it somewhere. My favorite letter. It's awesome.
In every game. Good to know. Hard K's everywhere. I want to dig into the combat PvP side of tech. So, and hopefully this is a lot more schooling and you get to kind of, I don't know, display some fun things. When I first came back, my PvP experience was very limited. Old school, I literally just outclassed everybody. I was that person with like a bazillion ranks. So in like 98, 99, like 3 people could come look at me and it didn't matter. So that wasn't really PvP. That was just, I can beat you up and you're not going to run away until there's just one of you left and it's already too late. With some two, it was different. I was one of the first people to train one-handed clubs super high with leg strike and knock aside, right? Because everybody thought it was garbage. And then I showed everybody it wasn't garbage. So, like, people would look at some two and then, like, talk some shit, and he'd be like, smack back, and then, the shit talking was over. Since I've been back, especially with Evan, I've watched people, yourself, some of the, there's a bunch of them. I'm not even going to try to name them all. I've seen a bunch of people doing very unique sort of one-off setups, whether it's with a combination of brawling and pank, or it's, spears and brawling, or they're made specifically. Could you talk about a little bit of what's changed so that we're at this place now where people are able to come up with sort of dynamic PvP things? And how do you because for somebody like me, I go and I look at the blocks and I look and I'm like, I get no clue what the hell I'm doing. So I end up bouncing this stuff off people like you guys. How do you even start doing that? How do you start planning a character around some sort of unique thing in tech for combat?
Well, just one point. I know you probably played, just as a random example, you probably played the original classic Vanilla Warcraft.
Yep.
Well, if you played that game for, like, as long as it's been out, and then you go back and play Classic, like on a private server or something like that, you'll find that all the raids and all the bosses and everything that used to be, like, so insanely difficult and hard, they're like not even difficult anymore, just because we're just better than we used to be.
Right.
And so, like, we think more out of the box than we used to be. It's not necessarily like we're forced to, because you end up fighting someone that does all these crazy things, and you have to react to it. And you're just like, oh my goodness! And then next time, you're ready for it. Hopefully you're ready for it, or at least you think of an idea that might prepare you for it the next time. Hopefully it's not, a brand new thing that you're experiencing in and it's a bandit that wants to kill you. That would school hard knock there. But yeah, so the combat is not balanced, but it's a heck of a lot closer than it used to be. Therefore, you get the option of kind of branching out, taking some risks to do these little things here and there. Again, like we talked about, it doesn't take 15 years to become comparable to the best.
Right.
If you've got good stats and 100 ranks and your subs in basic, dude, you can compete with somebody that's having a bad day, and you can definitely do some damage. Take one person, for example. They've got like 5 different completely different types of skill sets that don't even work together. Like, you have staves and a cestus. Well, you can't even switch those in the middle of a fight because it takes like 20 minutes to put your daggone gloves back on. So, I mean, those aren't interchangeable, but, that's just more practice doing something else. Or you get bored with something and you pick up a different weapon, you do something else. And all the while, you kind of figure out how this weapon works and how it's bad, how it's good. So if you end up fighting against that weapon, be like, haha, I know the weakness of that one. I'm gonna beat that dude's hind end,
Right.
But as a resource, I know me and however you want to pronounce it, Irisa, Kabar's lady friend.
Yep.
We have spent many months putting together the block and dodge table on the tech wiki. So if you ever just get bored, you can go on there and be like, hey, this weapon, has defenses against here. Oh, there's a glaring opening there. I might try this new little skill that might be a weakness there. It might be their Achilles heel, And you can go out and experiment. Find another buddy maybe that will roll an alt and learn that skill set and test. Have fun. Don't dedicate every second you're on with it, because then all you're doing is testing, and that also is like beating your head against the wall. But as an alt, while your main character's like resting or napping or just done with role playing for the day, go spend an hour killing seagulls or whatever, and in a month or two you've got enough stuff that you can test and have fun.
When I first came back, I looked at that and I was blown away, because I remember trying to make something like that years ago and just being like, oh my God, this is too much. And what I find really interesting is, even if you like PvP, or say you go to some games, sometimes you'll be like, oh, this should be their glaring weakness, right? I'm looking at the blocks, but they've trained around that. So then you actually, what I love about tech, and I'm sure this is shared by you as well, like you go to do something else and you realize, crap, like you said, their cross block is not strong, or that overhead is weak. Holy crap, I trained because I thought this was this hole, and they did too. They never so, oh man, I'm just going to aim high this whole time, like, woo. So that's what I love about the game and its combat. You never know until you fight somebody where that weakness or where those holes may be.
Yeah, and when you're actually fighting somebody, not just the blocks, but I mean, it's I mean, it's a move, counter to that counter move, just back and forth, trying to figure out how that person fights, trying to figure out what they're going to do before they do it so you're ready for it. I mean, it's a mind game more than, just pushing buttons and, like doing 5 moves in a row, then doing 5 moves in a row, then doing 5. I mean, you're going to get stomped if you do that. You kind of have to change things up, pay attention to what they're doing, which requires you to be able to read really fast and, be like, if I fight somebody that uses, I don't know, just a cestus, I'm not very familiar with those attacks, so I won't know very well. Be like, oh, he just used double, well, of course, double, but he just used stab versus a jab or versus this other thing. I don't know what that move is.
Right.
Like, I haven't memorized what the text for that is, so I'm going to be at a disadvantage, and it's not going to be good.
I wish, again, this is, for those of you who've watched these tech talks, I apologize for my hopeful, dreamy, I'm just kidding, I don't apologize. I wish we had more combat places. I guess there used to be something called the beta room or something. I wish there was a place where you could make a character that was just straight, normal everything with just different weapons. And they open it up like once a month, and you could just go in there with like crappy weapons, crappy characters, and just beat each other up for fun, just to mess around. Like, oh, I wanted to see how this works. I want to see how that works. And at the end of the day, the room gets closed down, and you got to wait again. Because for me, I don't want to learn all those different sort of skills on different characters, and it would really stink to get like a VC 10 or any veteran character and start working on it, and then you're like, I don't really like Nelsor. It's not my thing. That I would be bummed out. So it'd be cool if they had something like that. So if you're listening, GMs, good. Think about doing
open the beta room again, please.
Please.
Yeah, the last time I was open, I ended up getting kicked out. They closed it back.
They're like, get out, go home. You can't stay here, man. You're like, but Joe, just let me test one more thing.
Nope, it's my house. Yeah. Yeah, I do kind of miss the reset days, but I guess the problem was always people would let things cross over when they weren't supposed to, so they kind of stopped doing those.
Reset days. Yeah, you talking about the old free-for-all days?
Yeah, the free-for-alls, do whatever you want, kill whoever you want, murder, pillage, do everything, and then next day it's all back to normal.
Yeah, the last one I participated in was the one way back in 98, and I murdered a whole bunch of people, and then suddenly they all remembered it. The next day I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? We're still friends, man. We're all good. Why don't you want to come hang out with me by the baths just south? I totally don't have a hood on. I'm not waiting for you to get here. What do you mean?
Oh man! All right, so I got 2 good stories for you, and I warned you, I do go off on tangents. All right,
that's fine.
Way back in the day, probably 99 or something stupid, my best friend used to play, and they had a no save day, and on that no save day, it was like the first or second time that they allowed people to play as like thugs, brutes, bandits, and stuff like that.
Oh, yep.
And he rolled a brute. And this was, like you were saying, back when everybody thought clubs just sucked.
They did. It was beautiful.
And yeah, so he had this brute, and you remember when Sap actually did like real damage?
Oh, yep.
So he just went to the toga with his brute and Zerk, and he was just ugly bruised and fracturing people's heads left and right, like knocking out like 100 people, man. And they're just like, what the crap, And then all of a sudden, people are just like, well, maybe clubs aren't that bad because, you can do freaking ridiculous damage to people's heads.
I knew somebody ruined it. It wasn't me. All I know is all of a sudden there were changes, and they changed, I think it was Nakasai to start. And I'm like, what? No!
Oh, man. So, all right. So, my old main character, which, good luck on pronouncing his name, Whittinger, whatever. I don't care. I don't play him anymore.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a soldier, like in the Legion, that was like his dream, and that was back in the day. My guy only used a stave, and you couldn't use a stave in the Legion. All right, cool. I'm going to learn a spear, so I can be in the Legion. And the current Centurion was just like, all right, cool. You know, if you're going to learn the spear, you know, you can come and, you know, get the, you know, the first couple of musters and do the inspection and everything. It's like, all right, cool. That sounds great. So went to the first muster, you know, where they get the inspection, and you know, it didn't have a preliminary, you know, this is what you're supposed to wear, this is not what you're supposed to wear. So like I show up and I'm wearing, you know, my Sagum or whatever, and they're like, all right, cool, man, we need to you need to inspect. So you know, remove the Sagum, we'll look at your gear. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like totally stoked and pumped. So I take off my Sagum. They look at me and they're just like, you might want to not wear a hooded cloak to your Legion inspection next time. And how about you just leave? It's like, I had to do the walk of shame.
That is beautiful. That is. Thank you for sharing that. That is beautiful. Oh my God.
Because like back then, you could wear the hooded cloak, and then you could wear the Sagum. I don't even know if it's nowadays, but you could just pull the cloak, and you would be wearing the hood. You wouldn't have to like remove the Sagum and stuff like that, you know. And you could just pull it and push it, and you'd be hidden, and it'd be awesome. But totally forgot it was there for Legion inspection. Awesome.
That's, you know, those are the stories that just live in infamy forever. You know, yeah, this dude showed up. We were like, hey man, you got to take your Sagum off, take your gloves off. He takes his gloves off, he takes his Sagum on. Big old beautiful hooded cloak just chilling. We were like, you should probably leave.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh.
Man. Precious memories that hang on to forever. Oh, it still makes me smile.
Just little silly things like that, you know. Or I remember the day they got rid of the ladder to Monline. I remember calling Worlds Apart as like a 15 whatever year old kid, and I'm like, all right, Dr. Scott, there's bullshit. You don't even know how many times, you know how much longer like I was mad as a kid, dude. You know, like I've got girls and sports and I've got other things to be like worried about, but that ladder, man, I was like, this is bullshit. And then they told us we couldn't talk about it. It never was there. I was like, why are you kidding me?
Well, dude, as a fellow, you know, old school gamer, it seems to me, it may just be me, but it seems to me, because like the old server lag and stuff like that, it took like literally 2 hours to walk to Blackfire.
Yep.
Whereas now it's, you know, 15, 20 minutes or something like that, you know, depending on where you're at. I mean, was that just me?
No.
Or was it really?
No, it was brutal. Well, okay, here's where I do those things where I fondle the GM's hasty bits and I say, you know, load time used to be like, it's like, hey, saving the game. Bam, it's done in 15 seconds. And I'm like, dude, welcome to 2018. This is awesome. You know, we used to wait 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You used to walk away, go take a piss, grab some food or whatever. Now it's like, shit, I can't actually stop. That was the first mistake I made when I first came back. Dude, I was left a character. I was like, I'll be right back. Came down and there was tons of scrolling. Like, well, what the hell happened? Oh, no.
Yeah, and like an hour after the reset, it was just ridiculous, too.
Well, and that was the other thing. Afterwards, you couldn't do anything either. So you literally were like, okay, when we're gonna reset so that I can not do crap? Like maybe I can be resting and then start walking to wherever I wanted to go. It's no longer a thing. So thumbs up to the GMs for at least that sort of stuff. Love it. But yeah, absolutely. Dude, back in the day, it used to take forever.
Oh yeah, and it seemed like combat, maybe because everybody's stats sucked back then, but I mean, like a 4 or 5 second round time for swinging a weapon was like normal.
Well, when it comes to speed, and I guess you would know this, it felt, again, we're going to be wicked subjective. This is not hard data, folks. It felt like if you got a character that put the RPs into, like, say, speed, they were usually a kniver, you know? Yeah. And that's where it shined. I remember, like, that was my thing. I had a kniver with the old school triple cut. And that was like, whoo, man, you have that fast speed. But everyone else, you kind of wanted strength because most of us were stuck in those big round times.
Yep.
Nowadays, that's not a thing. Get yourself some story points, go premium, save up for some of these promos, twice as many story point turn-in thing, save it up for the next 50% stats. Next thing you know, all these big statted out roided monsters are walking around the game, That's brand new.
Like, the promotion going on right now, in case y'all didn't know. The half off that increase.
I would be ashamed to admit if I had those sort of feelings that I totally blew tens of thousands of roll points on stats for a bunch of my characters, and I'm not even mad because I still got enough roll points for alterations this month. So, what can I say?
Oh, dude, I'm watching the stream too as well as talking. But yeah, 7 line. I totally forgot about that term, sheep. That's great.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sheep. Oh man,
Getting all nostalgic here, man. It's awesome.
that's what scares me now. You know what? Let me tell you why that doesn't scare me. That everybody having statted out roided monster characters. If I was still in 1990, 97, 98, 99, right, where I was trying to get the most SPs, I was trying to be that beast whatever monster, then I would be super concerned, right? Like, oh god, there's some other people that could maybe team up and beat the crap out of me. That's no longer my top priority. My top priority is trying to develop interesting characters. I'm trying to role play with people maybe I've never role played with before. Like, that's one of my things I try to do with my characters. And let's say my main, Evan, he doesn't go into the steps. So on an alt, maybe I'll try to get in there where it's part of the role play to go in and talk to people and explore and do whatever, so that it brings more to the game. I'm no longer invested in having the number one, ranked gladiator in tech, if you will, or the number one ranked, fighter. I'm more interested in being able to fight, being able to add to stories, not get my butt kicked in PvE, and that's good. What's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah, I'm going to get chopped up, get to start a new story. All right.
Yeah, I mean, you play it, you enjoy it, you have good times with other people, and they enjoy it. So like everybody's having a good time, everybody's having fun playing a game. That's what we're here for, having fun. And I mean, if you're just sitting in a corner and not having fun, then why even playing? Go hang out with some people, have some fun, socialize.
The hard hitting questions here. If I'm just coming up with random stuff now. This is that unscripted craziness. Give me what you would consider the most underrated but potentially awesome combat thing that hasn't taken off yet. Like for me, I screwed up clubs, knock aside, leg strike. Sorry, rest in peace. That was me. There was Bergerer and some.
Whatever.
We got impale nerfed because you used to be able to impale people standing. You can no longer do that. They've got to be laying down. But from your perspective as somebody who looks at those sort of systems, what would be the most underrated? What is it, like a shield and a cestus? Is it a spear and a cestus? What do you think is out there that hasn't been done that could be?
Well, just for a couple things, a cestus has the potential of being the hardest single hit damage any weapon in the game right now, even more than a stave. But they've got some really glaring nasty holes that people can take advantage of, especially a stave. So they're not necessarily going to be dominating the world anytime soon.
Gotcha.
I'm a sword guy. I freaking love swords, so I've done most of my more recent theory crafting about swords. But combining, back 6, 7, 8 years ago or whatever, when I was not back yet, I guess the big thing used to have all 3 of the sword styles, and there wasn't a shield requirement, and you could use all 3, interchange them.
Right.
It was ridiculous. Well, they changed it so you can't do that, but there's nothing stopping anybody from, switching up in the middle of combat. and
Right.
taking advantage of, hey, Avros can do, 4 attacks, but Nelsor can hit from afar, and Pardelian can stand there and absorb damage like crazy. So, I mean, if you were able to, watch your opponent know what's coming, be like, oh, he's about ready to land his ridiculous attack. I'm going to bust out my wall shield and bam, absorb. And now while he's recovering from that, I'm going to switch to Nelsor and cut his legs out from under him. While he's on the ground, I'm going to, pick up a buckler and quad hit him. And then as soon as he stands back up, I'll pick my shield back up. I mean, there's all kinds of just craziness that is possible, but the amount of work that it would take to make it happen is not something I've undertaken at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, staves right now, it's got the combo of doom right now. It's got some other good stuff going for it, but that's like the most infamous part of it. Dude, honestly, I'm a huge fan, even though I don't even play it. That's probably why I'm a huge fan. But daggone archery, man! Like I always just dream of this dude having ridiculous dodges and archery, and being like, "So what? You're up in my face. I'm going to shoot you in the face, and then I'm going to shoot you from afar. Then I'm going to dodge everything, and I'm still going to shoot you. And there's nothing you can do." But I mean, that just sounds like fun. I don't even know if it's possible, but that just sounds like fun to me.
I remember when throwing tridents was a thing. That was that was crazy for a bit. But if anybody in chat has any of those, of course, this is tech. So if anybody has it, nobody's going to say anything. But I love trying to come up with those. And it's definitely guys like you. It's some of the people I've seen doing the PvP and the Coliseum and stuff. It's the fight nights where you see crazy things that you never think of. I think I saw somebody use, it was like a spears, sweep impale, grappling or something like that. Like when I look at that, I'm like, holy shit, how does somebody come up with this? Like then I'm so like, wow, that's what I'm excited about, learning tech now that I'm back and looking into those sort of things. And I'm definitely one of those people who goes and looks at all right, where does this block? What doesn't it block? Maybe it's here. And then setting up, all your little aliases, because yeah, it's nice if it hits here, but maybe what I want to do is try to poke down low. So
yeah, I remember for a little bit there, you could use several different moves with a trident one-handed. So you could bust out a shield and use your trident, and well, it got changed.
I was going to say, that sounds scary. I was just like, oh crap, was that a thing?
Yeah, that was also in, the quick attack was middle of something, speed.
Oosh.
So you could like use a shield and hit faster than anybody else at the same time. So you were just wreck crap nonstop. But
well,
that got you.
Maybe this question is for you when it comes down to common knowledge. I've learned a little bit since I've been back about like stats and speed, strength.
Yep.
If somebody was going to come up to you and be like, hey man, what is the most important thing for me to learn in order? So is it like armor? I've heard some people say all you need is a Lorca and a helmet, go away. Is it your ranks? Like, hey, listen, your focus should be putting them all up 10 at a time. Is it about training a certain way? If somebody was coming up to you, like, hey man, I love this game, I role play, but I don't understand kind of the combat, I want to get into it. What would be like from top down? Like, what would you be like, okay man, well, get this, here's how to start this and go here. What would your advice to them be?
Okay. Well, that is definitely a complicated question because everybody's situation is different.
You're welcome.
I love that crap. As far as fighting goes, just generalized needs, must-haves. Yeah, you can't go wrong with having a Lorca. I mean, that's always been the staple, even back in the day when you could just wear a Lorca and you were unkillable because nobody could aim. But now it doesn't cover as much. You're not as indestructible, but For a cheap piece of armor, comparatively, it's amazing.
Yeah.
If you use a one-handed weapon, even if you plan on using Nelsor or Avros, if you can pick up a wall shield for cheap, even a bad quality one, or someone can loan one to you while you're just leveling up and training in the arena with your basic one-handed swords, just the amount of damage that stupid thing will absorb so you can stay there longer. I mean, that is just a huge time saver and health saver. As far as the stats go, that kind of is more what you start out with, like your character. If you're, let's just say your dexterity is abysmal or something right out of the gate, you're not going to want to spend a billion roll points working on that. Just get the stat skill and ignore it. That is, I mean, if you're keeping that character. If you're going for a character you plan on keeping for like 5-6 years, you might want to re-roll that one because that's going to cost you a pretty penny. But yeah, man, with the invention of those stat skills for a throwaway character or a just farting around character or not planning on being the best character, dude, stat skills are awesome. I mean, they work great. It sucks because they're hard to train because they cost a lot of skill points. But dude, once you get them done, it's awesome.
For anybody who's new here, could you explain stat skills and how they work?
All right. So the stats. All right. So stats. It used to be on a scale of 1 to 200. They've just recently changed it so that you can get above 200. But just for clarity, 200 is a good point for max. Anything above that is an exceptional thing. So if you start out with abysmal dexterity, for example, and dexterity helps you accurately hit things, and you won't be able to hit anything with abysmal dexterity. So, hey, I'm going to learn the stat skill. But when you learn rank 1 of that stat skill, it will immediately put you on par with, I think it's average or above average dexterity, like
right.
Rank 1. You'll immediately see a huge accuracy bonus. If you have like very good dexterity, and I don't have the chart here in front of me anymore, but let's just say very good dexterity is 163 out of 200 potential. Well, the stat skill at rank 1 would do absolutely nothing for you.
Right.
And it wouldn't be up until you get it to rank, I don't know, like 70 or 80 or something that you would finally actually see some increase in accuracy. Because that was when your stat skill would take over for your regular stat. Last I checked, I thought the stat skills maxed out at rank 90, and it would be the equivalent of 175 in a stat. It's been a while since I've looked at that, so that might not be accurate, but
you are pretty close. Yep.
Yeah, it's somewhere around it. So if you max out your stat skill, you're still 25 points behind someone who, spent the money, spent the roll points, spent the time to level it up to the actual absolute maximum. So for most people, not a big deal. For people who are min-maxers, that's like night and day. So it just kind of depends on what your outlook for the future for your character is. If you just want to hang out with buddies and go to Gray Sands and kill some stuff, make some money, role play, you don't need to worry about maxing all your characters. If you have a shortfall, just throw in the stat skill, learn some ranks, pick up a good weapon, have some fun with your buddies, call it a night.
Goodness.
But yeah, a Lorica, a bronze helm. You can even get like that cheap Lorica from the steps. It works really good. Bronze helm you can get for like 100 dinar from Septima or whatever, or the place near Septima. I mean, they're cheap, good armor, and it absorbs a ton of damage. And I guess this is one of those common knowledge things, but getting hit like in the hand isn't going to hurt as much as getting hit in the head. So you want to protect your vital areas generally more than your extremities.
Tell us about that a little bit, because I had heard something, but don't have the whole background on that. So
like, all right. So for dealing, for example, we've got the ankle thrust move that people see do gaping wounds and gaping wounds and gaping wounds. You know, they're like, holy crap, that dude's just wearing that dude's foot out. He's going to drop any second. Well, that gaping wound is only doing like 2 HP damage or something. You know? I mean, it's not, you know, they're not going to be in trouble anytime soon from loss. But if I was doing, you know, gaping wound to that guy's face, then he might be in the world of hurt pretty soon. You know, you can't take those gapers to the face very long. You know, neck, chest, waist, you know, your torso, places that you would, you would imagine would take more damage getting hit, will take more damage getting hit. But, you know, getting hit in the foot, the feet, the arms and shoulders and legs, I mean, it hurts, but it's not going to do as much damage, HP damage, health damage, as, you know, getting hit for the same damage modifier, like bruise, heavy bruise. If you do a bruise to the foot or a bruise to the face, the bruise to the face is going to do more damage.
I wish I'd made that meme where it shows the more that you know, because that's totally how I'm feeling right now. Like, do like, I didn't know this. Now I know this. You know, I knew about trying to, like, say, you know, damage somebody's hand so that they wince or drop things, but I didn't actually know about the gaping wounds to certain things versus others. Now I know.
Yeah, and like you were saying, hitting certain areas to cause them to wince. If you do, like, two-handed axes, if you can do devastating cuts and devastating jabs and wounds and all other good high-end damage, like the high-tier damage, even if you don't do, you know, 50 damage in that one hit, you only do 3 damage, but you hit them in the hand, that there's a chance that when they throw an attack, they're going to wince and not attack. Or if you do it twice, maybe they'll drop their weapon next time. It doesn't even have to be a critical hit. Just those high-end damage can potentially do that kind of stuff. So that's another part of PvP that you can add that little tactical finesse into the way you fight.
That's very cool. And I like what you said earlier, to go back to that, where how do I want to say this? Since I've been back, I've noticed a lot of focus on, you know, how do stats work? What do they actually affect? And there's been a lot of conversation about it. It blows my mind. And people have figured out, like, well, 4 points of perception equals 1 point in this. And I just sit there and I'm like, who the hell figured this shit out, man? Like, I remember doing game testing for other games, but I couldn't imagine sitting here in tech and just being like, okay, well, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to test this to see what it changed. It's awesome. Just for
spreadsheets are awesome.
Just for fun, if you could ask one question about stats or combat to the staff and could get an answer to, like, one of the big mysteries that you have, if you could pick just one, you know, you could walk up to Skidoo and be like, hey man, blah, and he would just like a genie tell you what it is, what would it be?
Without a doubt, without hesitation, I would want to know the big secrets of how critical hits are calculated and how they work.
It's like you and all of the other theory crafters, man. Everybody, like,
well, that's one thing you can't test,
right?
I mean, you can theoretically over like 100 years, but you can't really test. You know, I mean, I can spend, you know, a few months, a few hours, whatever, and test, you know, damage modifiers for a weapon whenever you reforge it. You know, anybody can do that. Or I can test an accuracy for how much dexterity is 1 point of accuracy. But dude, critical hits are just all over the place. They're just all over the place. So that is one thing that I would just love to see the code for that one. You know, but I think that's probably going to be a big mystery forever.
Yep, I'm pretty sure. See, now I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think. I don't even know what mine would be. It's a great question, but I mean, the critical hit one is nice, but I would probably want to know, and just because it's relevant, how the courses work. Like,
Okay.
that would be mine, just because it was, like, if you ever did the courses forever ago, they're beautiful now. If you're a new player, like, blank, what are you talking about? The courses are great. I'd be like, bro. Back in the day, you used to run them, right? You hippity hippity hop, and when you got done, it would give you a random upgrade. It was, yeah, it was hard, right? Yeah. So, and for me, and again, I think we were talking about this in the Discord. There's this feeling. Oh my God, I hate that squishy soft science, but it's like, it feels like, wow, I've increased my strength, so I feel like I get over the wall. Get over the wall more. Yeah. But am I really getting, like, and that would be the one, just so I could know. I just want to know, like, Skidoo, just tell us, like, that would be my one question. If anybody in chat, just for fun, had a question, that you, like, if you could, the one question, the tech mysteries, like, I think now I'm like, oh, I got another one. I wanted to know more about what was it, the temple in Monlon? Dude, I've got a whole, now my brain is filled with all this. Like, wait, what about this? I got to pick just one. But if you had one, right? If you were gonna sit down with the staff and you're like, hey, listen, I got one question. Blah. What would it be? We've got R2. Oh, yeah. How about you guys? That being said, we've talked about a lot of the topics we wanted to. Was there anything else that you wanted to maybe share or discuss before we kind of say goodbye to the YouTube part, and then we have TEC, the after hangout?
Hours.
Right.
Well, I mean, all right. So, you know how I said I have like a little notepad page for each character.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I find useful for me. And it might help newer people or people planning, a new route for a character or whatever. In addition to, copy pasting important events that happen or things that you might think relative, or you writing out your backstory and then as things happen, add to it that makes sense or whatever. But I'd like to plan out my ranks in advance. Like I know that my ultimate goal for this, for staves is I want 100 basic and 50 in this move, this move, this move, and this move. And it's going to cost me this much skill points here, this much skill points here, this, kind of like break it down, because when you just see, holy crap, I've got like 20,000 skill points, I'm never going to do it, get depressing.
Right.
But whenever you break it down per sub skill, you're like, dude, I only need 120 skill points to get to this goal. That's one little goal. That's pat on the back. Heck yeah. And move on to the next one. You see progress, and it kind of encourages you to keep going. And it also, it stops you from walking up to the trainer with 100 skill points being like, what am I going to do next? So you kind of, it just helps me. Might help some other people. Just do your thing.
You want to know something? I totally did that for Evan. I like, and I actually role played it out like him trying to think about what he was doing next, but really what I was doing was looking at my text document like, oh shit, what was next on this list of, what was it? Okay, is this here? Oh no, it's not there. Shit. All right. We got to do this one. I did. That's how I did my disclaimer. When I first did my character, apparently I did it quote unquote wrong, because I bought a ton of combat skills instead of using a Ludus for what it's for, because I'm bad. If you're new and you're watching this and you're like, hey, I got some role points, I'm going to buy a VC package 4, and don't do what I did. Use those skill points for any sort of non-com and the basics, and then use the Ludus appropriately, not Terabad like I did, because I walked out. I'm like, dude, I'm big and strong. Did a little bit of the Ludus. I'm going to friendliest. Everyone's like, dude, what? Man. You totally did that backwards. I'm like, I know. But from there, I planned everything based off of, at the time, he wasn't soldier. I planned everything around the different places in Friendliest that I wanted him to fight, and it made it easy. So big thumbs up, and absolutely agree. Whether you got a new character, old character, it's awesome to kind of plan out and see little progression as you go. Like, okay, I've got X amount of skill points. What do I put them in? Now, my question for you is, are you like me? I'm a huge banker. Man, I sit on skill points, and then I'm like, hi, can I have some training? And it's like, and people are like, dude, what the heck? Why did you wait? And I'm like, I don't know. I just had a couple thousand skill points. I decided to spend them now. Or are you not like that?
Oh, I'm absolutely like that. I mean, sometimes, it's kind of hard to find the trainer, but, when I'm doing self-training, I have no excuse, but I still do it. I just like seeing that big stack of skill points sitting over there smiling at me, But, yeah, I totally do that, too, with every one of my characters.
Yep, I love it. I don't know. It's so fun to be like, I'm just going to hold on to these, and then I'm just going to ask somebody. Does anyone else get that? It's like a little, it's like a little bit of like an EP where you're like, I'm gonna train the shit out you. You don't even know. Hey man, can you just train me in some of this real quick? And they just kind of look at you as you continue. You're like, oh no, I just need a little more. No, I just need a little more.
You remember back in the day, like 300 skill points was like a month of work. Oh, check this out. And also, like, you had a round time for learning one rank from somebody. So if you're just like, hey, man, I bump some ranks. Like, all right, cool. How many you need? 100. You'd be standing there for an hour learning from this person. Oh, man. But, yeah, dude, the Ludus, absolutely amazing. Kudos to the GMs for making that. Every one of my combat characters, new characters, start out there. If you get a decent roll, like if you've got, fairly good dexterity, fairly good agility, dude, slap that Lorca on, go berserk, and you can get through the Tier 1 Ludus, like, no problems. Yeah. Without even a partner. It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that change. I love that it's there. I love that it gives people, especially brand new people, a chance to fight something that's not rats or seagulls and kind of experiment with things. And
you get to see those awesome critical hits on humanoids.
Right? Instead of it's like, big slash to a seagull, his feather falls off. You're like, gives a shit. But like when you're fighting that slave, man, and he's all talking trash to you, you're like, bam, I got you. Yeah, huge fan of the Ludus as well. So, so we're gonna wrap this up. First thing, for those of you who are watching, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, this will be episode 4. I'm still looking for. I think I've got a criminal coming up next. I'm looking for anybody in the community who's willing to sit down and chat, especially in voice if you're comfortable. We will talk a little bit beforehand, then do the stream. I would love to get as many different perspectives of the game. And we can talk about anything you want. We can talk about non-com. We can talk about roleplay. We can talk about the economy. We could talk about your training, your experiences, one of your favorite characters, whatever you want to. For me, putting these up potentially brings in new people to check out our game. It puts more of a 2018, we're so cool, we're on Twitch and YouTube, look at us, sort of spin to, our 20-year-old text-based game. And I think it's kind of cool to put voices and not so much faces other than mine, but faces to these characters that we read and we see, maybe not every day, but within our time that we play. So it's both for outsiders and people that are within our own community. I want to say thank you, Matt or Kabar, for coming on the show. I hope you had a good time. This was a blast, and thank you for everything.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody in the chat for hanging out with us too. Awesome.
To answer your question, Tree, I will get right back to you. We're going to cut this right here for YouTube, and we will be right back.